Hello, good morning. Right, well I had to stop here. This is Den Fiend. Used to be called Fiend of Dens. Fiend of Dens, Den of Fiends. It's now called Den Fiend. There's actually a Den Fiend farm. I think that's it actually. Now, there were some cannibals. Now, I've told you about some cannibals before, haven't I? The Shawnee Bean cannibal family. Well, this is another family of cannibals from the 1400s. They used to live here, and all the family used to just eat passers-by, travellers. They'd be very picky. They preferred them young because apparently they tasted better when they were young. The flesh had a better tang to it, you know, better taste on the back of the tongue there. So they'd eat all these younger people. But there weren't that many travellers, to be honest, and they were struggling to get fed, so they were trying to be careful, you know, so they wouldn't get caught. But because there weren't too many people coming through, they started on the locals, they started eating the neighbours. And all the local village started noticing that there's people going missing, there's a lot of people going missing. Where are they all? And it didn't take them long to work it out, you know, that this family's eating them all. So it went to court, they all got caught, and they went to court, and they were all found guilty of being cannibals, and they were all executed. Every one of them got hung, apart from the youngest, a little girl, and she didn't get young because she was just a little baby. So they put her into care. They were trying to be kind, you see. It wasn't her fault, she was just a tiny baby. It wasn't her fault, her family were all weird and cannibals and eating everybody. So they were giving her another chance. So they put her in with a new family who was looking after her, cherishing her, loving her just as one of their own. But as she got older, she started being a bit weird. She started having a lot of fights with other children and with animals, and start biting and then sucking the blood out of the wounds and things. Really, really weird. So as much as they tried to rehabilitate her, it didn't work. She was just getting worse and worse and worse. So it was decided, yeah, you're a bit of a bad one as well, so we'll have to execute you. But she were only young, you see. She were only like, I don't know, at the time, probably about 9. So they said, right, we'll let you live for now, but once you turn 18, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to hang you. Okay, but have a lovely life until then. And she did, but she kept getting worse, just biting people all the time. So she turned 18. On her 18th birthday, they took her away, and they didn't hang her in the end. They burnt her at the stake. Burnt her at the stake on her 18th birthday. What a party! What a party! And she actually had some last words. I'll read them to you now. Give me credit, if ye had tasted human flesh, you would think it so delicious that ye would never forbear it again. She loved it. She loved human flesh. And she's pretty much telling everyone you should try it, so I don't know, I've never tried it. Maybe I will after hearing that. Maybe I won't, I don't know. Have you tried human flesh? Leave a comment leave a comment down below if you've tried human flesh, if you've eaten anybody, if you've ever killed anybody and just nibbled on a nail or something like that. Yeah, leave a comment, let us all know. So yeah, more cannibals in this area. 2 places in Scotland full of canniballing families. How weird. There's 2 things I really have to bring up today. Firstly, McDonald's. What's going on? What's going on? Have you been to a McDonald's urinal lately? Waterless urinals. You know where you wee? You wee in like that little... Women won't know. We have like a little bucket thing in men's called a urinal, and you wee in it. McDonald's have come up with this fantastic idea of having them where they don't use water, so water doesn't swill it away. I can't think of anything more disgusting. I just can't believe they're getting away with it, and it's to save water. Well, obviously you might as well just give us a hole going straight down to the drain and we'll pee down that little hole. Unbelievable. Anyway, second thing I want to bring up, on a slightly more serious note, we've all had these, haven't we? Chocolate digestive biscuits. Now this is what they look like. They're lovely, they've been around for years. The only thing wrong with them is they're a lot smaller than they were when I was a child. Okay, but that is a digestive biscuit, a chocolate one. Beautiful. Now, they've brought out some more. They're called Digestives Thins. Okay? I'll show you one of them now. Look at that. Look at that. Just compare them, yeah? Look, it's smaller and so much thinner. It's untrue. Now, this is where it gets silly. They are nice. They're very acceptably lovely. But this is where it gets silly. In there, 180 grams. In there, 300 grams. So nearly twice as much in there. Let's get on to the price. 75p for your 300 grams. £1.99 for your 180 grams. Are they having a laugh? Are they having a laugh? Is someone's just taking the mickey, aren't they? Who thought that they'd get away with this? Who thinks we're going to buy these? I've only bought these because I was trying to... I don't know. I just thought they might be nice. But once... Why are we wasting us money? Get rid of them. No, but honestly, everybody boycott McVitie's at the moment. McVitie's Thins. I think we should all protest outside their factory. That is a joke. It's disgusting. Stick to your digestive biscuits, your proper big ones. In fact, we should complain anyway. Let's all strike outside the Digestives factory saying, get rid of your Thins and make these as big as they used to be. What a rip-off. We have 3 more donations in the last 24 hours. We've got Matt King, £10. Anonymous, £10, and Matt and Ruby, £5. Hello, Ruby. So that's another £25, guys. Thank you very much. Links in the description. Diggingthecoast.com. Click donate. You know the score. You know what to do. Get your money in. Come on, let's make at least another 1,000 before we finish this trip. Right, let's talk about Jack the Ripper. The real Jack the Ripper, the one from London who killed all them prostitutes, yeah? Nobody ever found out who he was, for sure. I'm going to tell you exactly who it was. It was a guy who's from here, Dundee. His name is William Burry. Now William, or Willie, didn't have the best start in life. His dad had died in some accident and his mum she went to some lunatic asylum and she died of some disease or something, so she were obviously a bit loopy to start with. So he didn't have a very good start. Now, when he left school he became a horse butcher and then he wanted to move to London, so he went to London and he got taken in by a couple and he worked in like a sawmill. So this couple who took him in, he worked for the guy called James Martin, and his wife, she ran a brothel. Now, this is when Willie started seeing prostitutes. He was a heavy drinker and he used to go see prostitutes. He was known to be violent. He was a bit of a bad boy. So it's whilst he was there in the circle of people that he met his wife, his future wife. She was called Ellen Elliott. There's rumours that she was a prostitute as well, but nobody knows that for sure. But William was a violent drunk, and people used to say that he'd threatened his wife many times, threatening to slit her throat and things, but never did. So Burry and Ellen got married, and they both had syphilis together. Yeah, they both got syphilis. It was very common in them days, apparently. Anyway, they couldn't afford to live in London. He was spending all the money on drink, and decided to get out. Now, some people say Helen forced him to get out because of what he was doing in London. Because this is the time, it was in Whitechapel, the area of London where all the prostitutes were being killed by Jack the Ripper. Helen, the story goes, is that Ellen knew it was her husband and she wanted to get him out before he got caught, so she took him to Dundee. Now, was this Jack the Ripper or wasn't it? If it wasn't, why did the killings stop as soon as he left London? That's what gets me. That's what makes me think he did it. So they went to Dundee and they stayed in a room above a pub, for just a week, and then William persuaded some letting agency, some estate agents, to give him the keys to some flats. So they went to stay in this flat, which was at 113 Princess Street. in a basement, and they just squatted there. He never paid any rent. They'd given him the keys and they couldn't get him out. So whilst he was there, the first day he moved into this flat, he went to the cathedral, St Paul's Cathedral in Dundee, and he saw somebody there who he recognised, somebody from when he was 10 years old, used to be his enemy. Apparently William had got this guy who was called Edward Goff. He'd stabbed him and stolen his money at 10 years old, and he'd not seen him since. And this Goff guy was now the reverend in the cathedral. What a coincidence. Anyway, he begged his forgiveness. He says, "I'm so sorry about what I did when I was younger. I hope you don't mind." He says, "Well, I did mind actually, it really hurt, and you took my money. I'm financially worse off, but I'll forgive you because I'm now a reverend and that's the kind of thing we do." So they patched things up and became friends. Anyway, just a few days later, William walked into the police station and he says, "My wife's killed herself. I've just found her killed herself in the house." William's story was that him and Ellen got really drunk. He'd passed out in bed and he woke up the next morning and his wife had a rope around her neck, and he said she killed herself. So finding out that she'd killed herself, he was really mad about it. He was mad at her for killing herself, so he got a knife and started stabbing her repeatedly. And then after he'd done it, he thought, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. They might think I've killed her now. So what I better do, I'm going to chop her up and put her into a box and just hide her." He was panicking, you see. He didn't want to get caught for doing something when he didn't do anything wrong. It was just suicide. So the police had been round to the house, had a look, took one look at her cut up in a box and arrested him. Says, "There's no way that's suicide, pal. You're lying, you're a liar. You know you're a liar, we're going to have you for this." So they took him down the police station. They examined the body and it turned out that she had been stabbed before death and after death. So it was an open and shut case, really. It went to court and he got done for a murder, and he became the last person to be hung in Dundee. That was in 1889. So when they'd gone to look at the house, the police found a few words written on walls. On the door, it says, written in chalk, was "Jack the Ripper is at the back of this door." And on another part of the house, it said, "Jack Ripper is in the cellar." And apparently he'd confessed that he was Jack the Ripper to his friend Goff, this reverend who wasn't his friend anymore, who then, Goff became his solicitor and tried to stop him from being hung, apparently. But apparently he didn't try very hard, and he actually wanted him to be hung because he'd never forgiven him for stealing his money and stabbing him when he was younger. It's such a long-winded, strange story, but it's all true. All this is true. So William Burry himself had confessed to being Jack the Ripper to the police and to his solicitor. He'd written that he was Jack the Ripper inside the house on numerous doors and walls. And the killings stopped in London as soon as he left London. All very coincidental, if you ask me. I think he did it. They ended up saying he didn't do it. He can't have done it. He was just a copycat killer. He wanted to be known as Jack the Ripper, but he wasn't. I don't believe that. I think he did it, and I'm always right. So that's the story of the real Jack the Ripper who lived in Dundee. Yeah, the things I've got to talk about at the moment are mainly stories about people rather than sites and places to show you. I was wanting to show you William's actual burial tomb type thing, which I'm told is behind the mortuary or morgue in Dundee city centre, and I had a really good walk around, and it's right next to a police station. I was getting some really funny looks from the police outside this courtroom, and I moved on very quickly. I couldn't find it. Right, that's all you're getting today. I don't know what's wrong with me lately. I just can't get into it. I really can't. I metal detected on this beach yesterday, found nothing. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to my next trip, to be honest with you. I've had enough of this one. Simply because I've got such plans for my next one. I just want to get home, start planning it, and get on with it. But I can't, because I've got to keep this up for 365 days. That's something I'm determined to see out. So I'm keeping up with it. I'm trying to give you videos. I'm trying to keep excited. I'm trying to keep in the mood. You're just going to have to bear with me. And I'll post you a video when I can, on whatever I can. But that's all you're getting for today. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow on Digging the Coast 3, 6, 5.